Hello everyone, I'm all about Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing you something Telltale Games, Transformers, and more. For today's review, we're going to look at Transformers Cyberverse Season 1, Episode 3, Allspark. Now, for the first, this episode is the first one where I feel like this has definitive pros and cons to each episode. While episodes 1 and 2, they were like almost for the most part entirely pros with like a couple nitpicks. This is the first time where I feel like that an episode finally has cons to it. Not just saying that this episode was bad, it's just that like the bad parts of this episode were more noticeable than other episodes. So yeah, this is one thing though I am happy about this episode, that fact that it finally breaks the 3-stage or the 3 or 4 stage system that the last 2 episodes of Transformers Cyberverse had. So I'm really happy about that. We'll get into that more later. But let's go ahead and jump into this review right now and see everything it did right and what it did wrong. So this episode starts off some unknown amount of time after the events of the last episode. So I assume most likely it's probably like a couple hours or so after the events of episode 2. It starts with Bumblebee flying Windblade himself in his own scout ship into a more foresty area, which I gotta say is a nice change of scenery compared to the barren desert environment that we had in the past 2 episodes. I am liking that Cyberverse is going along with these with brand new environments, because all the environments we've seen prior to this, they are pretty barren. We've either seen like a dead Cybertron, a desert, Bumblebee's mind, and that's pretty much it, or like the ice places that we've seen in the trailer a couple weeks ago. But this is the first time we've actually seen like a really like somewhat densely populated area, not in the sense that it's like a lot of people are there, but in the sense that it's just like it looks a lot fuller than the deserts or Cybertron. And I honestly really dig that. Love the art style of it. So anyway, after nearly getting himself and Windblade killed while trying to fly it, which Bumblebee seems to have no problem doing, but Windblade's clearly terrified. Windblade explains to Bumblebee that they have to be careful now, that because since Bumblebee answered Starscream's comm signal at the end of the last episode, the Decepticons, especially the Seekers in particular, are going to be all over Earth looking for them. So they need to find a place to hold out and like help get Bumblebee's memories back, while without having to wander around looking for Decepticons on their tail. So she has Bumblebee park next to an old humans radio tower, which Bumblebee nearly knocks down as they crash land in this clearing. And it's at this point that Windblade tries to remind Bumblebee about his mission on the Allspark. So they decide to go ahead and do another memory jump in to try and help Bumblebee remember what exactly the Allspark is. So while Windblade is getting the ship's computer ready, but she basically just explains to Bumblebee what the Allspark is in general, and the fact that it was essentially as it was in Transformers Animated in the Bayverse series, basically the core of Cybertron, how it was responsible for giving life to all the Transformers. And Bumblebee kind of mentioned, summarizes this when once he's in Windblade or inside his mind, which he basically tries to comprehend everything Windblade told her about how it's essentially that the Cybertronian Civil War that between Autobots and Decepticons nearly destroyed Cybertron and caused a lot of Autobots and Decepticons to flee the planet, and so they've been doing the war for millions of years. And so Bumblebee saying that somehow the Allspark got lost, and so they try to figure out what happened to the Allspark by having Bumblebee focus in on a memory that Bumblebee had when he was sent to deliver the Allspark. So this is a clip that was shown, the last clip that was shown actually prior to Cyberverse's first episode. But for anyone who never saw my video about it before it got taken down, I'm gonna go ahead and re-summarize that all for you. So this clip essentially takes place back on Cybertron, with Grimlock instructing Bumblebee to head towards a drop-off point to store the Allspark in it. However, as Bumblebee is heading to the drop-off point, he's interrupted by the Allspark apparently calling out to him. So Bumblebee stops under a bridge to look at the Allspark when it starts glowing this bright blue color. But not only does it do that, Bumblebee himself starts to be glowing blue too, and especially all the black outlines on him turning blue. And this seems to imply that maybe the Allspark will grant some kind of supercharging power, very similarly to if you remember in Robots in Disguise how Bumblebee, Strongerman, Sideswipe, and even Steeljaw in Season 2 could get powered up by combining the Decepticon hunters. It seems to be implying that will be in an aspect that the Allspark is capable of doing, but we just haven't seen it yet. Anyway, after this happens, it spreads out to the entire area around Bumblebee, but he's interrupted by this when Grimlock suddenly calls out to him and wonders why Bumblebee stopped heading towards the drop-off point, which Bumblebee tells him, not actually talking to him. He still uses his beep boop voice. That's trademarked. That is official. You can't steal that. Bumblebee uses his beep boop voice to tell Grimlock essentially that it talked to him, which Grimlock doesn't believe. So anyway, Bumblebee keeps heading there, and so Grimlock reminds him that he's going to be late to the drop-off point. So as Bumblebee heads there, he is intercepted by Starscream and a pair of Seekers who attack the drop-off point and blow it up, but that because the Allspark had stopped Bumblebee, he was not in there when they destroyed it, so essentially the Allspark saved Bumblebee's life. Starscream then ends up trying to get the Allspark from Bumblebee, but he manages to escape. After that, the memory ends with Bumblebee explaining to Windblade what he saw. But then Windblade decides that she wants Bumblebee to go deeper and to try to figure out what exactly happened to the Allspark, because all that showed basically what the Allspark was capable of. So to do this, Windblade has Bumblebee access another memory, and this one, it seems to be of a fight that Bumblebee, Windblade, Optimus, and a bunch of other Autobots were in against Decepticons when they were trying to get the Allspark out of Megatron's hands. So the memory that Bumblebee's looking at in particular starts off, it seems to be just a picture of Optimus, which Bumblebee's confused by, so he has no idea who Optimus is. But once Bumblebee accesses memory, it's apparently that it starts with, like, Bumblebee, apparently he was, like, knocked out by some kind of explosion, so it was Optimus, like, helping him get back up to his feet. So essentially, in this flashback, Optimus tells Bumblebee that they need to get to the space bridge, and so that they can get the Allspark off the Cybertron out of Megatron's hands. So this clip shows, at first, we see Bumblebee's, Optimus, and Grimlock behind them, all heading towards the space bridge, trying to take it down. About halfway during the fight, Optimus and Bumblebee are knocked down by another missile when all of a sudden afterwards, before they're overwhelmed by Seekers, Windblade comes to help them out. It's at this point then that Starscream appears and tries to take on Windblade. And I think this fight, while it's not exactly a very, like, interesting, but it is cool that we see a bunch of new abilities that these iterations of popular Transformers characters have, specifically Grimlock and Starscream. Now, as far as I know, the only Grimlocks I've known are the G1 Grimlock, and Robots in Disguise Grimlock, and an IDW Grimlock. I don't know if any other versions of Grimlock have just like animated Grimlock or whatever, but I think it's really cool how Grimlock in Cyberverse, apparently he in his root mode, he's able to shoot like rockets from his shoulders. Like he has like his shoulder pads are like a bunch of like so he can shoot rockets. I think that's a really cool ability he has. But more specifically, I also like abilities Optimus and Starscream show in this fight too. And that Optimus apparently has the ability to form like an energy shield in front of him in like the shape of the Autobot symbol, which I think is so stupid, but at the same time like hilarious and cool. Like it's just cool that he just pulls out like a giant, like when Starscream shoots some lasers at him, like, or a bunch of other Seekers do, he just pulls up like this giant Autobot insignia like made of like energy and just blocks it. I think that's just, it's so stupidly cool. I really like it. But the coolest thing though, I had to say, is what Starscream does. In this, he has a brief fight with Windblade at this point, in which Starscream is apparently able to, like, Windblade can can like eject like the engines from her wings to like cut through stuff. Starscream can apparently take off parts of his wings and throw them like ninja, like boomerangs, essentially. As you see here, like we don't see like them like do any damage, but like he throws them at like Windblade as in the essential boomerang, but like Windblade's able to block them. I think that's like such a cool idea for Starscream that he has this. And also, of course, if you remember like from G1 Starscream when he had the as for a lack of better terms, the titty missiles. He doesn't have titty missiles anymore. He has like his whole like stomach opens and he just shoots missiles out of that, which I think is even more hilarious than the titty missiles at this point. I'm just like, I know like everyone called like from every Transformers I've seen, like everyone calls like in Starscream when he had the missiles in G1 cartoon, everyone called it the titty missiles. So I just think that's hilarious that they just like, oh, Starscream's gonna have titty missiles in Cyberverse, but nope, he has stomach missiles now, and I think that's absolutely hilarious. So anyway, once the Autobots deal with Starscream and the rest of the Seekers, Optimus instructs Bumblebee and Windblade to cover him while Bumblebee goes to activate the ground bridge, and Optimus will go through it because he doesn't want the Allspark to get into Megatron's hands. Windblade's worried about this because she doesn't know where like Optimus is going to be then, so like, but he says that he has to do it to make sure the Allspark doesn't get taken by Megatron. So Optimus starts to make a mad dash for the space bridge while Bumblebee tries to get started and Windblade and Grimlock cover him. But it's at this point that Soundwave appears at the top of the space bridge, and he tries to stop Bumblebee from activating it by, for lack of better terms, unleashes a Soundwave on Bumblebee, trying to block and knock him off the platform and down off the building they're on. And at this point we hear a little snippet of Mark Swint's voice at Soundwave, and it's I did not expect from Soundwave. I mean, having the only Soundwave I've known being Frank Welker's Soundwave from G1 Prime and Robots in Disguise, it's a lot more like younger than Frank Welker's Soundwave, I gotta say, like, and a little more cocky, I guess, than robots than Prime Soundwave or G1 Soundwave. So it's kind of weird, if I'm honest. Like, it doesn't really, I don't think it really fits Soundwave's personality. But maybe if we see more of Soundwave, because we literally, that's all, like, Soundwave shows up for maybe like half a minute in this episode. So maybe, like, if we get an episode with more focus on Soundwave, we'll see more of him, and I'll be able to, like, give a bunch of character. But anyway, during this point, Optimus is almost at, despite Soundwave's efforts, Bumblebee manages to get the space bridge open, and Optimus is running toward it. He almost makes it, but not before Megatron shoots him and knocks him down. But before Megatron can take the Allspark from him, Optimus just chucks it at the space bridge as it's closing, and manages to get through right before the space bridge explodes, which ends the memory. Once Bumblebee and Windblade are back in, like, Bumblebee's, like, mind, Bumblebee is completely, like, amazed by Optimus, because he has no idea who he is. He just thinks he's cool and all that, so Windblade it tells Bumblebee who Optimus was and how he was one of Bumblebee's closest friends and essentially the leader of the Autobots. So Bumblebee thinks Optimus died after that, but Windblade says no, that he didn't, and but he's somewhere on Earth, so it's up to her and Bumblebee to save him. But right as that happens, because of Bumblebee's connection to Optimus, about 5 or 6 more memories, like, centering around Optimus open up, ready for Bumblebee to explore, and that's how the episode ends. Now we're going to get into the cons of this episode, but first off, I want to say I am proud of Cyberverse for breaking the 4-act structure that the previous 2 episodes had, where it's essentially the 4-act structure they had, which was Act 1, Bumblebee and Windblade get into antics. Act 2, Bumblebee and Windblade fight a Decepticon. Act 3, Bumblebee and Windblade uncover a memory. And then Act 4, cliffhanger ending. That's essentially what episodes 1 and 2 are. And I love that this episode subverted that. It was essentially the first 2 minutes were just Bumblebee and Windblade messing around, but then the rest of the episode was just Bumblebee. It was like all flashbacks, and I really do like that. We got a lot more story content this episode, which I really am proud of. But at the same time, a lot of this just seemed, even though for the high stakes episode had, it was just really underwhelming. Especially well, I thought the first flashback that Bumblebee has with when he's delivering the Allspark and gets ambushed by Starscream and his Seekers, I think that section was great. But especially the fight with all the Autobots versus Megatron and his Decepticons, I think that fight was just really underwhelming and just, like, weirdly done. Like, and just, I mean, I understand, like, and it just seemed like really. It just seemed really weird. Like, there are points, like, when Optimus and Bumblebee are, like, shooting at, like, Seekers in the air, or Grimlock, when Grimlock shoots his missiles out, they hit the Seekers, and of course they're not gonna blow up and, like, die, because obviously that's, but maybe, like, just show them, like, crashing down or something like that, or, like, being unconscious, not straight up exploding. But no, they just get hit once and then they fly away. It just seems, I mean, I understand that they're trying to target a younger audience, Cyberverse, but that's what their upcoming show, like their Rescue Bot sequel, is for. If they're Hasbro, you gotta be okay with, like, showing a little violence on your show. I mean, like, you did good with your Windblade and Thundercracker fights in the first episode, along with the second fight in the last episode. But this fight just seemed really like low stakes, especially, and just really random. Like, the fight with Windblade and Starscream only lasts for about maybe 20 seconds. Windblade, like, Starscream throws his wings at Windblade. Windblade blocks them, hits them back at Starscream, and then she, like, Starscream charges her, and then she sweeps his legs, and he falls off the platform. That's it. Then out of nowhere, for no reason, Shadow Striker comes out of nowhere, just charges Bumblebee, and then just gets utterly wrecked by Windblade for, like, she's only there for, like, 5 seconds. And it's so out of place. I didn't like how out of place everything was, and this fight was really underwhelming. And I hope this isn't a way, like, what Cyberverse fights are going to be like from now on, because the first 2 fights are really good, even though, like, not a lot happened, but, like, I think Cyberverse does better when the fights are more personal and we don't see a lot of people fighting. When you do big giant battles like this, they don't work well with Cyberverse. I mean, other shows like Prime and Anime did this well, but I don't think Cyberverse is that kind of show. So maybe if they're going to keep doing this, they either be afraid to get a little more violent with it, or it's just not going to feel dark enough, or, like, high enough stakes. It doesn't really resonate with me. And so that was my review of Transformers Cyberverse Season 1, Episode 3, Allspark. If I had to rate this episode, I would probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the breakaway from the 4 arc structure that the past 2 episodes had. I loved the fact that this was a flashback heavy episode. I loved the the new abilities that Starscream, Optimus, and Grimlock showed. But once again, the fight with the fight that Bumblebee and like basically everyone had in the last memory was really underwhelming, especially considering that was the bulk of this episode. It just seemed really underwhelming, very low stakes. One thing though, I forgot to mention this, I absolutely love Bumblebee's radio voice in this again, and especially in the first part of this episode when Bumblebee is asking Windblade what the Allspark is. He asks his all voice, "What is the all?" And then just cuts to another thing, a little kid saying "sparkles," so it's the all sparkles, and I think that's honestly the cutest thing ever. I absolutely love that. And so that's probably this wouldn't have gotten an 8 if it wasn't for that all sparkles line. I loved that. That made me laugh so hard when I saw this. So yeah, I had to give episode 3 Allspark an 8.5 out of 10. So that was my review for this episode. I'll be back next week with episode 4, The Journey. If you like this review, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.